in business, you're going to be told no. You know, you're going to fall down. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get scraped up. That's just life in general, especially in business. You know, if you can't get back up, brush that dirt off, learn from your mistake, and keep going, then you're not going to make it.
Man. Guys, welcome to the Beltran Podcast. I do have a very special guest here today, a fellow Treasure Coast entrepreneur, owner of Avid Entertainment, also the Treasure Coast Park and Watch, and I'm sure many other things here locally. We have Mr. Kyle Kneifel, also known as DJ Classic.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going on, brother? How are you, man?
I am doing fantastic. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, man. So, once again, you're like the epitome of what this is about, man. You know, we like to have local entrepreneurs. Eventually, it's going to be international entrepreneurs, but really just kind of to hear your story. You know, what made you realize that you wanted to work for yourself? What you're doing? So, let's start off. What are all the projects that you're involved in right now?
Currently, I have 3 different businesses. We have, like you said, Avid Entertainment. That is a mobile DJ company. So we primarily cater to weddings, private events, corporate events, school functions. So we provide DJ services, MC services. And then apart from that business, we also have Avid Production Group, which is more audiovisual and, AV equipment rental, stages, sound systems, projectors, lasers, all the cool stuff, lighting. We can do everything from, like a small, festival to a corporate function, to a gala, to any type of event like that. So we have those 2 businesses, and then we also have our newest business, which is Treasure Coast Park and Watch, which is a small drive-in movie theater located in Fort Pierce at Causeway Cove Marina, which we are there on select Fridays and Saturdays.
Nice, man. So, like I said, fellow hustler, man, you do a lot, and I love it.
I try my best.
So let's get back into Baby Kyle.
Baby Kyle.
Yes, I'm always curious. Like when you were in school, did you get in trouble? Were you real chatty, or were you like just a bookworm? Tell me a little bit about Baby Kyle.
Baby Kyle. Oh man, I gotta think back now. So in school, I mean, I wasn't necessarily like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm a genius. I wasn't like a straight A student. I wasn't like my goal, when I was a kid, I didn't have the goal to like become like a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, but I always, I don't know. I just always enjoyed, lighting and music and I guess entertainment technology in general is what I always kind of like got attracted to, like whenever we would go out, I remember like on a field trip to a local theater or even maybe to like a theme park like Disney or something like that, everyone would be enjoying the ride and I'd kind of be like staring up like at the lights and looking around. Man. Everyone would be like, what are you looking at? I'm like, oh, look at that thing. Like, it's shining bright and doing cool stuff, and
well, that's
so,
awesome, man.
So I was kind of always like a nerd, in like to a degree when it came to that stuff,
okay.
And when it came to business though, I'll never forget when I was, probably 7 or 8 years old. We had to sell candy bars for our school. It was like a fundraiser. I think at some point every school does this.
Those days.
Yeah, it was the Trying to think of the chocolate bar. It was a special.
I remember. What was it, man?
It was
broke
so
apart
good.
In pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
World's finest.
World's finest. Exactly.
Is Brad chiming in?
Yes.
World's finest.
World's finest chocolate, and you know, and yeah, I'll never forget, you know, going out there, you know, selling chocolate for the school, and then something just one day kind of clicked in my mind. I'm like, you know, this is great and all. Like I'm selling candy bars. I'm raising money for the school, but like, why do I have to just stop now? Like, why can't I just keep doing this for myself? So my mom used to shop at Sam's like all the time. She was like a religious Sam's member, and she is still to this day. So I'll never forget. I was shopping with her one day, and I was like, "Mom, look, candy bars." It wasn't World's Finest Chocolate, unfortunately. It was Hershey's or something. But there was like a big, you know, like a big bulk box of them, and I'm like, hey, like I want that. She's like, no, you've had enough chocolate. You're not eating any more of that. And I'm like, no, not for me. I want to sell them. She's like, you want to sell them?
Oh, I love this.
So, yeah. So basically, she was just like, okay, whatever, you know. So she bought me this big box of chocolate, and I literally went around the neighborhood, ding dong, door to door, selling chocolate. And I'll never forget this, you know, one neighbor that, you know, she, you know, knew my parents fairly well. She was like, Kyle. She's like, what are you up to? She's like, this isn't World's Finest Chocolate. And she's like, what? Who are you selling this for? Is this for like a organization? And I'm just like, smile. I'm like, nope, it's for me. $2.
Nice, dude.
How could she possibly resist that? She was like, oh, okay, fine, give me 2.
Yeah,
you know.
So this runs in your blood, man.
Yeah, at that point I realized I was an entrepreneur. At the time, I mean, I had no clue what an entrepreneur was, you know, obviously. But I mean, at that point, I mean, something inside of me just knew that I was cut out to be in business for myself.
Oh, I love it. For me, it was the blow pops. I used to get the bag of blow pops.
Oh,
those were the ones that because they sold. Everybody wanted the blow pops, so it was the same for me. I would just get the big bag and go. I'd sell them in school. Never got in trouble or anything. Oh, so you were selling chocolates. I mean, what? You were middle school, high school?
Oh no, that was back when I was, like I said, I think it was like 7 or 8. I was like,
that's epic.
That was like elementary school days, you know. Like I said, that was me, you know, initially selling the World's Finest for the school.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, wait a minute, why can't I do this for myself? Like, why can't I make a little money for me instead of just, you know, earning an allowance? I could maybe just sell chocolate, you know.
Wow. What did your parents do?
So at that point, you know, my mom was like, okay, well, as long as he doesn't eat all that chocolate, you know. And my dad was kind of like, hey, you know, because my dad was a salesman. So he was kind of like, yeah, son, like, sell that chocolate, get that money, you know. And then I think what really, you know, started to set the path for me here as an entrepreneur was when I was actually in middle school. I think I want to say it was 6th grade. I wanted to open up a lemonade stand, just like most kids at some point have that idea. But I didn't want to just open up like any normal lemonade stand. Like I wanted to do like a legit lemonade, like fresh squeeze with the actual juicer, you know, and I wanted to have snow cones. And I wanted to offer, you know, cans of soda, bottled water. You know, I wanted like a little concession stand, like on the road. You know, I didn't want to like just put it on my driveway and hope people showed up. Like I wanted to make money, you know.
That's so cool, man.
So there was this guy, and I've got to still to this day just give a huge shout out to Mark. From Lero's, and now I think
Lero.
it's Mark. You know Mark?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Man, legend.
So Mark of, and now his company's called Concession Equipment Depot.
Yeah.
Hats off to Mark. What an amazing guy. Because at that point, you know, I was very hungry. I was very young, of course, 11, 12 years old, and I'll never forget. You know, I was just, you know, I wanted to do this. And there was other companies in town. I'm not sure exactly, where they were at. It's kind of hard to think back that long, but I'll never forget, I would approach them like, hey, I kind of want to get in the concession business. And they're kind of just like, oh, whatever, kid. You going to buy something or what? They didn't really take me seriously. And then one day I saw Mark at the Met Stadium, and I saw how long of a line he had. And then I saw him again. He was at some festival out in St. Lucie West. And his line for lemonade and snow cones are actually Italian ice. Sorry, I didn't mean to say snow cones. Sorry. Be an insult to him. But, hot pretzels and all that good, delicious concession food that he had at the time, it was just flying off the shelf, and that really motivated me. I was like, ooh, yes. I mean, even if I had a fraction of this on a Saturday by the road, it would make me happier than a kangaroo on a trampoline, so... So at that point, I was like, yes, I've got to do this. And so I was like, Dad, I got to meet this guy. So I found him. He actually had a warehouse here in town, and I found him. I think back then, I didn't have Google. I didn't have a smartphone. I had to go in the yellow pages, and I found like where he stored all his stuff.
Was that in Village Green?
Off of Village Green, yeah.
I know.
I felt like a stalker. Like I found him and I called him. I said, "Excuse me, I'm interested in your in your lemonade products." And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, kid, but this is not a retail store." I'm like, no. I don't want to buy like a cup of lemonade. I don't want to buy an Italian ice, like a cup of it. I want to buy like a bulk. I want to buy it in bulk. I want to be able to open up my own concession stand. And he was like, oh. He's like, how old are you? I'm like, 12. He's like,
So cool.
He's like, you know what? Come see me. Come on down. He gave me the address. He's like, come on down. Let's talk. So, at that point, I told my dad, I'm like, I got to meet this guy. And so, we went there. And I met him, and he's a really, really awesome guy. And, he gave me the tour of his shop. He showed me all the different, products that he had, the different, formulas for lemonade and for Italian ice and all that good stuff. And then he had this old, I'll never forget, it was an old wooden lemonade stand that it was one of his first stands that he had at the Met Stadium before he started building the newer ones out of aluminum. He had this old wooden one that was just basically about ready to get thrown in the garbage, pushed up against the side of his warehouse. I think it had a couple bullet holes in it. They were using it for target practice or something. And I was just like, hey, I want that stand. And he's like, it's kind of old. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't worry. I can restore it. I got paint. Dad, can we go get paint? Like, I'm gonna paint it. I'm gonna make it look good. I promise. Like, I'll give you $25 for it. And Mark just kind of looked at my dad, and my dad kind of looked at him, and Mark looked at me, and he's like, "Well, kid, you sure know how to bargain." He's like, "You know what? Deal."
Oh, that's so cool, man.
So now my dad's thinking, "Oh, great. Where are we gonna put it? How am I gonna get it home?" But it's my son. He's young. He's an entrepreneur. What the hell? So I'll never forget, loading that thing up and bringing it home, cleaning up. My God, I was more excited than Charlie Sheen in a pharmacy. It was.
Man, that's support from your father, man.
Oh, yeah.
Any parents out there, if you see any inkling that your child has this in them, man, nourish it. It's such a special thing. Not everybody has it, man, And the fact that he did, I mean, that's I guarantee you that's a huge part of where you're at today. Is just having that positive reinforcement.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they could have been like, "What do you mean? You need to go get a real job." Like, I mean, there's parents like that.
Oh, absolutely. But I will say though, because the other people that rejected me, I know this is sounds a little crazy here, but to me, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I got told no a couple times.
Yeah.
Because at some point, in in business, you're going to be told no. You know, you're going to fall down. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get scraped up. That's just life in general, especially in business. You know, if you can't get back up, brush that dirt off, learn from your mistake, and keep going, then you're not going to make it.
Man,
you know what I mean?
If I was Brad Lee, I would have dropped the bomb right there. I don't know if you ever watch his show, but that's awesome.
Yep. So I'm glad I got to experience a couple no's and a little bit of that failure young. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it's disappointing. Trust me. I mean, I was pretty bummed out. You know, like when those people were telling me, oh, I'm young, whatever, and,
but you just pushed.
I
right
mean,
through.
trust me, it made me sad and quite frankly, I was more irritated than a toothless dog in a deli. But I pushed past it. I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to let these people stop me. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's bound to be an opportunity out there. You just got to keep going and going. And I'm glad it happened. And but like you said, still, parents can be a huge impact and a huge influence. And thankfully, I have incredible parents. And my dad, he looked at me and he's like, son, you may be a pain in my ass sometimes, but I gotta give it to you. You're young, you're motivated, you're an entrepreneur. And I have no choice but to respect that and support you, and so did my mom.
That's strong, man.
And so that that really matters. And unfortunately, some parents, like you said, they may have that mentality of oh well, get a real job, go to college. And don't get me wrong, I mean my dad was a huge advocate of college. He really pushed that college mentality on me, thinking that was gonna really help me. And so my advice there would be, do whatever you got to do to educate yourself.
Yep.
Okay, if you feel like college is a good means of education, then by all means do it. If that's what you want to do it. Okay, now obviously there's certain professions where you have to. If you want to be a doctor, you got to go to college.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to college. There's just no way around that,
Yep.
But if you're in business and you're like, well, college isn't really my thing, I'd rather get my knowledge from books. I'm more of a book guy, or I'm more of a podcast guy. Not trying to toot your horn here, but, hey, I want to listen to an audiobook or a podcast. That's what I enjoy getting my knowledge from. Do that, or I want to hang out with other entrepreneurs and I want to learn from them. I want to get a mentor. Do that,
But at the end of the day, you have to educate yourself.
Yes.
Yes. However you do it, but you got to do it without learning, without being around the people that have done it, man. You're pissing in the wind, as they say.
Oh,
of
course. Absolutely. And another piece of advice is, and see, at one point, I have to kick myself in the butt for this, because at one point, going through my early 20s, I kind of experienced this little bit of cockiness, like, oh, I know everything,
Oh, yeah.
bad mentality, because now it's like the only thing I know is that I know nothing. I need to keep educating myself. I need to keep learning. I need to just continue to have an open mind, because, even if you think you know everything, something's going to change, something's going to come out, something's going to improve. The world is a constantly evolving place.
Yeah, especially in your field with technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's changing monthly almost. You think you learn this new program and run these lights and this and that, and all of a sudden there's something brand new, a new product.
Oh,
that the competition has, and they're already running. You're like, well, back to the drawing board.
Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, you there's never a point where you just reached like a plateau, like, oh, I don't need to learn anymore. I'm the genius. I'm the expert. I'm the ultimate guru in my field, and no one can tell me anything. And no, nope.
Yeah.
I don't care how old you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care if you got billions and billions of dollars in the bank. There's no point where you can be like, I don't need to learn anymore.
Yeah, you lose.
I mean,
you
at
lose
some
the
point,
whole
yeah,
fire.
you can retire, but that don't mean you can, necessarily sit back and say, I don't need to learn anything anymore.
Yeah.
So
So-
I always encourage people to continue to learn and also continue to teach and spread what you know, and that's why I'm here, and it's an honor to be here right now.
Yeah, man, and you're dropping so many nuggets, and I absolutely love it, man. This, like I said earlier, this runs through your veins, man. This is what so many people. I think a lot of people have this in them that haven't even tapped into it.
Oh yeah.
But there's some people, obviously, and I say it all the time. It's not for everyone. This you do get bumps and bruises and lessons and bankruptcies, and you know what I mean. Like I was just speaking with somebody earlier today. I mean, he got the rug pulled from under him, but in his mind, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna make it. He kept on plugging. Now he just partnered with a national company just because he kept on and kept on and kept on. So did you actually sell lemonade? Tell me.
Yes.
How did that go?
Oh, that went over very well.
Where'd you set up? I'm curious. I love this.
So I used to live off of where Crosstown and Aroso are. Well, it used to be before it was Crosstown. It was West Virginia, I think, back then. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a long time
Before
ago,
it
but
all
now it's Crosstown and Aroso. There used to be a little field there. Now there's a home there, but there used to be a field there. And so I was like I said, I didn't want to just set up like right in front of my driveway, because I knew that wasn't a heavy traffic area. I needed to be on a busy road. So basically, I approached the neighbor again, that door to door mentality, and I'm thinking, okay, this could be great, or this could go over like a pregnant pole vaulter. We don't know yet. So, but you know what? We don't know till I try. So I knocked on the door. I said, "Excuse me, sir. My name is Kyle, and I am starting a lemonade and snow cone stand, and I was wondering if you would be interested in partnering with me and allowing me to set up on your empty lot here next door." And he just looked at me and he asked me how old I was. I was like, I'm 12. He was just like, okay. Now this guy was an older gentleman, probably in his mid 60s. And he smiled and he said, well, what did you have in mind? I said, well, I would like to give you a % of my profit. He said, tell you what, he's like, why don't you just come out here, set up, sell your lemonade, and you don't have to pay me anything. I was like, what? Really? Like, I was just like, wow. Like, okay. I was shocked. I was more surprised than Lindsay Lohan at a family intervention. And sorry, it's Kyleisms.
I love them.
But anyway, I was so grateful. I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. He's like, when you looking to get started? I'm like, next Saturday. He's like, yeah, set up.
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
sell all the lemonade you want. He's like, I support young entrepreneurs like yourself.
Nice.
So that's basically how I got my start. I would push that stand, from my house, 2 blocks down, set it up, bring out the coolers full of ice, a little generator to power the snow cone machine, and yeah, I was in business for myself.
How did you market? Did you have any signs or anything?
I had a sign. Yep.
Yeah.
I had a sign I put right out in the middle of the road that said lemonade and snow cones with an arrow.
That's perfect.
And I just naturally got people just from that sign. People would just, pull right in, and yeah.
Wow, man.
I'll never forget the first day I made like $100, and
wow,
and I thought I was
at 12
rich.
Years old. That is rich at 12, man. Oh man, and the crazy thing is now, I don't know if you've seen on the news and stuff, like they're going after kids that are set up. They're trying to say that it's illegal. You don't have your permits. Can you believe that, man?
So here's the sad part. That actually did end up happening to me.
Oh no.
But here is the really bizarre part. Okay, so I actually, believe it or not, I actually went down to the tax department and got a license. At the time, it was trying to think. I think it was off Village Green. It's still there, but it's a different building now. But because it wasn't it wasn't a restaurant. I didn't have food. I wasn't cooking anything. So it wasn't in that category. It was a different type of category.
Like a
so
vendor's license.
It was like a vendor's license for serving like just beverages and stuff like that, you know. So it was a very minimal requirement. But I'll never forget, I walked in there and I was just like, I'm here to apply for a license. And they looked at me, they're like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 12. They're like, son, you got to be 15 to apply for a permit. I'm like, no, not to drive a car. I'm like, I need a business license. And they just looked at me like, what?
Oh, man.
And, of course, my dad was with me, and they looked at my dad, and my dad was just like, yeah, I mean, my son wants a license. He wants to be legal. He wants to do it the right way. So, yeah, so they ended up giving me all the paperwork. Of course, my dad had to co-sign for me on this because I wasn't an adult. And so, yeah, I ended up, they actually gave me a license, and it was called Kyle Kneifel's Refreshments.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I even and so to get to the story, I actually, even though I had a license, they still got me for, I guess it was because I was set up on a residential lot. That was
the zoning was bad.
Right, the zoning. Even though they put the address on there, whoever was there, maybe they just thought, oh, it's just a kid, I'll just put it in there, whatever. They didn't even think about zoning. But, and don't get me wrong, I got away with it because I did it for the whole summer almost. It was like 2 or 3 months of selling lemonade and snow cones until the code enforcement guy pulls up and he was just like, hey, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you can't do this,
Oh, man.
And that's when I was like, oh, no, sir, don't worry. I have a license. And he was just like, license? Here you go. And the look on this man's face was just like, where did you get this? I'm like, the tax department. And he was just like, they gave you this? I said, well, I had to pay $13, but, yeah. I'll be right back. And I swear he was in his truck for a good hour on the phone, on his laptop, trying to figure out what was going on. And, yeah, he basically came out and said, listen, I mean, you're a young entrepreneur and all, and I respect that. But unfortunately, you can't be here doing this. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least it didn't stop you, man. Look at you now.
It did not stop me. I mean, it may have stopped me there, at that particular location.
Yeah.
Thankfully, again, hats off to Mark, because when I told Mark what happened, he was pissed. He was like, oh my God, hell no, this is wrong. He's like, tell you what. He's like, I don't care if you're, I was 13. He's like, I don't care if you're 13. Because right down the street was Sportsman's Park, the football field.
Yeah.
He was like, want to just come work for me every Saturday at the football field? I'm like, sure.
Nice.
So 13 years old, he ended up hiring me over there. So I ended up working for Mark for, several years over there. Then eventually he put me at the Met Stadium and other locations. So
I have no idea, man. Small world.
Yep.
Man.
So
I've
that's
done a lot of work with Mark.
Yeah, I know. Small world indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool. So you started with the refreshments, kind of got your feet wet with that.
I did.
And then through high school, did you do anything through high school?
Yeah. So since I had technically now I had a job to a degree, so I had some source of income. Now I was able to save up some money because now I had an interest in DJing. This was probably about maybe a good year or so after the concession. I'll never forget. I was probably in maybe 6th or 7th grade. I really just had a big interest now in in becoming a DJ. I think it was mainly because there was a new radio station that opened up, and the DJs were on there mixing it up, scratching and blending and doing all sorts of cool stuff. And at the time, I actually played guitar. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was a kid, I played acoustic guitar, and because again, I always liked music, but something about the turntable and all that, and the scratching really intrigued me, and I think it was more along the lines of being able to take music that was someone else's music and being able to take that and make it my own. I guess that is what really attracted me to it, So sadly to say, I gave up the guitar for wanting to learn how to DJ.
Okay.
So that's when I started to save up my money from working, for Mark, and I was like, I gotta become a DJ. I gotta buy some equipment. Now, at that time, things were a lot different back then. DJ gear was not what it is today. It was not affordable. Did
you have the Technics, the turntables, and the records and all of that?
Not at first. That was very expensive back then.
Yeah.
If you wanted CDJs or Techniques, because that's really all there was. If you wanted to scratch, you couldn't go buy a little cheap controller and a little laptop. Like, no. You had to buy, you either had to buy records or you had to buy CDs. And that's what I was doing. I would actually go to Specs Music back when, Specs Music was in business, or FYE, which, believe it or not, is still in business at the mall. So
really?
Big shout out to FYE for still being there and for the people that still go there and support them. So I used to go there as a kid and or as a teenager at this point and actually buy CDs, And at some point, I invested in a small DJ CD player system. So unfortunately, I couldn't really do much with it. I couldn't really scratch with it or do anything. But it was a start. I got my first small setup as a DJ. I was able to start mixing a little bit and teaching myself how to do that until I was able to, when I hit high school, then I had enough money saved up to where I was able to afford some of the digital stuff which just started coming out, like Serato. And virtual DJ, we're now starting to, become a thing. It was now that time in the DJ world where CDs and records were being phased out, and the new, digital stuff was coming in. So I was like, yeah, it's expensive, but I gotta save up. I gotta buy it. And so I did. I think I was in 10th or 11th grade when I bought my first actual digital DJ system, right, which really allowed me to take my skill set to the next level. And that's when I started doing I started actually making money with it. I started actually DJing like little house parties, and then
that's going to be my question. Do you remember your very, very first DJ gig that you actually got paid for?
I believe my very first gig was actually my high school's homecoming dance.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. So they trusted in you to do the whole high school.
They did.
That is so awesome.
They did. At first, they were a little leery about it. The principal looked at me and she was like, well, typically we wouldn't hire our own student. But, again, it's like, how can you resist a young entrepreneur?
Yeah, man.
It's like, you kind of can't say no to that, I mean, you can, but then it's like a little bit of guilt may start coming in at some point. So they just looked at me and they're like, you know what? Send us a proposal. I think it was like a little test. Like, let's see how much of an entrepreneur this guy's. So I did. I actually put together a little proposal of, this is what I'm going to bring to the table. This is the equipment that I have. This is how many hours I'm going to perform for. And this is ultimately what I'm going to provide. And this is the fee that I'm going to do it for. And so I did that. And they said, okay, thank you so much. We're going to look it over. We're going to talk to the committee. And then a couple days later, they called me back like, hey, we like it. And we'd love to have you DJ for homecoming.
Wow, that's so cool, man.
So yeah.
That probably got you lots of points in school, man. Everybody was like, holy cow, it's Kyle.
That it did.
That's so cool, man. So how'd it go? That's the question.
It went well. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was a bit nervous at first.
Of course.
I mean, I was, well, maybe a little bit more than a bit.
All your friends were there watching. It
Yeah,
was so crazy.
I was probably more nervous than a fat bull will be at a fly swatter convention at this point because it's my first big job. There's probably 1,000 kids in attendance. My sound system was definitely not, large enough really to fully cover that room. But, it was still good enough to do what I had to do. So I kind of, I was just like, wow, this is just my first big job here, and I was, definitely nervous, but I pulled it off. And everyone loved it. Everyone had fun, to the point where they're like, hey, want to do it again next year?
Nice. Well, all the music, what was hot, what people liked. I mean, that's so much better than bringing somebody who's 20 years out of school, kind of knows a little bit. Like for you now, how do you keep in what's relevant? Like,
yeah. So, now, for anything school, related, like a homecoming or prom, I actually hire.
Okay.
Yep. I hire younger DJs, that are in tune with the crowd, that really just know the music, because again, I'm all about giving opportunities, but also I'm about, making sure I have the right person for the job that's going to do that job with excellence.
That makes so much sense. I always think about that, man. How do you? Yeah, I don't know what's hot right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that I couldn't DJ because I'm not gonna lie. I do hop on a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm there at a prom, I might DJ just for a little bit, but but the majority of that music is being played by one of our DJs that specializes in doing
that demo,
events
that
for
demographic
for the younger people.
Oh,
and it works out very well because I can focus on all of the technical stuff, all the lighting and the audio and making sure all of that is running smoothly. That way the DJ doesn't have to worry about any of that. They can just focus on their craft and doing what they do best. So works out very well.
The name DJ Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, when did that come about? And just tell me about where did it come from?
So believe it or not, when I first started, I needed a DJ name, and I just kind of didn't really take the time to think of one. So I was just like, well, my first name's Kyle, so I'll just go by DJ K. So everyone just kind of called me DJ K for a little bit, but at some point I was like, DJ K is kind of bland. It's kind of like not really creative, and there's probably a lot of other DJ Ks out there, And at the time, I was doing, this was probably back when I was 20, 21, something like that. So at the time I was actually doing a lot of clubs and bars in town. And I had a group of friends that were helping me promote to try to get more people to come to the clubs. So, we all started thinking of a name for the crew. So they were like, why don't we call it Team Classic, but with a K at the end. So it's like DJ K, but Classic K, and I was like, I like that name. That's pretty catchy. So it was Team Classic. And then I was like, why don't I just call myself DJ Classic? They're like, yeah, you should.
Nice.
That's perfect because, I've always been more known for playing. Well, I can't really say the classics because I'm not really, playing like classical music, But I've always been known for playing, music from, back when I was in high school, like the early 2000s music and stuff like that. That's what people tend to know me for, when it comes to the clubs and stuff like that. Now obviously when I do a private party or wedding and stuff like that, I play whatever I gotta play to but when it comes to hey, I'm throwing a party at Shellfish Brewing Company night or wherever, they usually people kind of expect me to be playing the classics, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
so
man.
it kind of went hand in hand, I guess you could say. To a
Nice,
degree.
man.
So that's how I got the name, and I've been,
Classic sense.
I've been classic ever since.
Yeah, so you started with the DJ, and at what point did you start to get into the actual production side?
A great question. So the production, again, I've always, even as a kid, it's always sparked my interest. Like I said, I was at Disney or a theater, just kind of looking up at all the lights, and and I'd always ask myself, like, I wonder how this works. Like from an engineering standpoint. And I was always just interested in the technology aspect of it. So. When I was in high school, I took technical theater, and then when I was, I did take a couple college courses also for technical theater. So, during my early career as a DJ, I was kind of learning technical theater a little bit, but theater wasn't really at the time much of an interest to me. I was more into, concerts and doing musical stuff. I wanted to deal with, really high energy shows, and at the time, the college was trying to teach me more, plays and things that weren't as, things that didn't really involve as much technology, I guess you could say. So at the time, my interest, wasn't really there anymore. So, I spent the next couple of years just focusing on my DJ career. And then when I was like 22, 23, I got back into it again, But instead of going back to college, I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. Why not just start investing in my own AV company, Now, granted, to do this is, can get quite expensive. The initial investment, and the barriers to entry of an AV company is far greater than, the mobile DJ company. But it's still a very scalable business. You don't necessarily have to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars initially to be in business either. But also at the time, I would have some of my buddies in the nightlife business ask me about, hey, can I rent your speakers for an event? And same with my DJ buddies too. Like, hey, I need more speakers for this show, or I need an extra mic, or I need some extra DJ gear. And I'd be like, sure, yeah, I'll rent it to you. So that also really kind of got me going, like, ooh, yeah, I can be in the AV rental business too. So before you know it, I just kept buying more gear. I would take the money that I would get from that rental, and then I'd go and reinvest it and buy more equipment. Next thing you know, I have a garage stacked full of gear. I can't fit any more stuff in there. So now I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to have to go get a warehouse.
Yeah,
and so I did. And thank God I did, because now my warehouse is stacked full of equipment, and I'm almost to the point where I may have to get a larger warehouse here soon.
Yeah, let me know. I can help.
Oh, thank you. Beltran Realtor, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
You didn't know.
You go.
So yeah. I started small, and I'm constantly growing. I mean, I'm still a fairly small company, in my opinion, but I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly, taking on new customers.
Well, you say fairly small, but really one of the biggest in town. Like there's only maybe 2 or 3 other people that do what you do here in town, and you've partnered with them. It seems like, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I've seen you partner with. How does that work? How has that helped you?
So, I try not to think of people as my competition. I try to work with people as much as I can.
You're very good at it too. We've worked together many times.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a small world, and all we have is each other, so I try my best to work with other companies and help them, and vice versa, in turn they help me, because at the end of the day, I may have a limited supply on certain things. They may have something that, I'll need, and I may have something that they may need, or we may have, some of the same equipment, but then there may be a show where they may not have enough of that equipment, so they may have to call me. Or even if they have a big show and they just need me, they just need extra crew, or they just need my expertise for this show, they can call me, or I could call them, and it's just a good relationship. I'd rather look at people as my partners or business associates before I look at them as my competitors,
Yeah.
So that's how I try to operate, and it works out. It works out very well that way.
That's kind of more of the abundance mindset. I've been big on that my whole life. There's enough to go around, man. Stay positive, give, love, help. Then you have the other side of that coin, which is more like that greed mindset. There's people out there, it's like, oh, there's only so much business, and if I give them my tricks, they're gonna take all the business, and I won't be left with any. Or and I think that's just when you live on that vibration. I mean, that's that lower vibration, and
unfortunately there are people out there like that.
Yeah, man.
Those are the people I try to stay away from.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I want to work with good, humble people that are team players, and
it goes a long way, man. And it goes a long way just for your mental health.
Yes.
The people you're around, if you're not worried about somebody sabotaging or coming after you or calling code and whatever it is. Because I see that in other businesses. They're like, oh man, they're set up over here doing something wrong. I mean, that's just who wants to live like that, man?
I totally agree. 100%.
So it seems like you've just been pushing your whole life, saying, boom, what's next? When COVID hit, that was a big roadblock that hit a lot of people, and especially in the entertainment business, which I'm a big part of as well. It's one of the legs of I guess I don't even know what to call it, my conglomerate. I don't know. I got a lot of stuff going on, but
you got more irons in the fire than I do, bro.
So entertainment's always been a big part. So when COVID hit, wow, that was eye-opening.
Oh yeah,
and
that was a game changer for sure.
And for you, one of the things that just your whole story leading up to it just proves that it's in your mind. When COVID hit, now you had to redirect.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you go, and what came about when COVID hit? I know the answer.
So COVID, that was quite a bummer for us, because our season is, at the time our season was in March. We had a lot of stuff lined up. We had a lot of weddings and private events, but also we were at that point where we were trying to grow the AV business. We were trying to get more into the, corporate realm and the conventions and stuff like that. And, I had a decent amount of things lined up in March, ready to go, and some stuff for the summer. And the next thing COVID, boom. We all knew it was coming, but even before it really got here, I was already getting calls, hey, I need to cancel. Thankfully, most of our customers called and said, hey, I need to postpone. Just hold my deposit. We'll just postpone this to a later date. Some, unfortunately, did cancel, and I gave them their money back. It hurt, but, I had to do it,
Did the right thing.
So, it was quite a bummer, because it was just like, we're on fire. We're going to keep growing. We're going to grind. We're going to hit our goals. And then COVID, boom, like, man, but, COVID, as bad as it was, I will say it definitely opened my eyes, and it made me less complacent. I will say it got me to it got me to think on a bigger level. It got me to think outside the box, and that is why I now own Treasure Coast Park and Watch.
Yeah, man.
So, long story short, well, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So, I'm in my warehouse. It's a Saturday night. I'm with my buddy, and we are bored out of our minds. Usually, we're working on the weekends, but we're sitting there bored, messing around with our lights and stuff. And I'm just like, man, this sucks. Like, there's got to be something we can do. Like, I get it. Like, we can't host a party. We can't host a big event. We got to have social distancing. Like, I got to think of something. Like, I can't just sit around. I'm going to go stir crazy, So I the first idea I had was, because at the time, the grocery stores had like a waiting thing. Like, if it was too busy,
only a certain amount of people allowed in.
Yeah. So basically, you had to wait in line, and one person would come out, the next person would go in. So the first idea I kind of had was, well, what if I actually set up a DJ booth at Publix, and I had an FM transmitter hooked to that, right? And we gave everyone a number, right? And we said, hey, instead of standing in line out here in the hot, hot heat, sweaty, sun out here, why don't you just go sit in your car, tune your radio to, whatever station I was going to broadcast on. I'm going to play some nice music, and we're just going to call your number, and so, so that was just a quick little idea that, again, my mind's thinking right now, because I'm like, because, some people are kind of like, oh, they're telling me it's not going to last long. Some people are joking, oh, it's made in China. It's only going to last a couple weeks, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I don't think so. Something tells me this is not going to go away anytime soon, and events are definitely not coming back right away. This business that I'm in is going to suffer, and I need to really get creative. I need to think outside of the box as much as possible. So that was the first idea that I had. So I'm actually driving on Hutchinson Island out there one day, and this is when they closed all the beaches, right? So, you couldn't go to Jensen, you couldn't go to, any of the beaches.
I never understood that part.
Yeah, I didn't really get it either.
It's like the safest place you could be, I think.
I know, right? So guess what people did? They went across the other side, to the riverside, and they just hung out over there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're going to close the beach? Well, we'll just go to the other side. So I'm thinking, okay, people are going crazy right now. They don't want to stay home. They're edging for something to do. You know what I mean? Because that's just what happens. You tell someone to go, sit at home for a couple weeks, they're going to get more irritated than an astronaut with bad gas. I'm just saying, because I know I was, So I'm thinking, God, I got to do something. So again, I'm back at the warehouse, back at the lab, and at that point, this little light bulb just kind of bing went off in my head, because I looked around and I saw a couple of my projectors, and I'm like, I got an idea. And I had a flashback back to when I was a kid. I used to go visit my family up in upstate New York. And in upstate New York, the drive-in was a big thing, up there. Like, you didn't go to the regular movie theater during summer. You went to the drive-in. And, and all my life I was like, why don't we have this here, like, in our town? It was so cool, and it's such a nostalgic, thing to do. And it was kind of like one of those like little milestones. I was like, one day maybe I'll open a drive-in, if I ever have time, So now I was like, it's now or never. I got to do it. I have nothing to lose, I already have the equipment. I just need the property. I just need the land to do it, So, believe it or not, the property that I first approached was Tipsy Tiki.
I remember.
The parking lot,
but
back when
it was called something else back then.
No, it was the Tipsy Tiki,
okay.
and Connie was the owner.
Connie,
yep. So I called Connie. I said, hey, Connie, I know you're gonna think I'm nuttier than a squirrel's turd here, but but I got this idea that I think would be very beneficial for the both of us. I think we should do a drive-in movie night in your parking lot. And she was like, oh my God, that's genius. Like, that's perfect. She's like, listen, I've always wanted to do a movie night, but a drive-in movie night, she's like, that's perfect for COVID. Everyone's in their cars, their social distance. Like, yes, absolutely. She's like, I'm closed. I have nothing to lose. Let's do it. But then, of course, we were worried about, the local restrictions, so
Yeah.
She said, well, listen, let's do it right. Let's call the city. Let's make sure that, that we're legal right now, obviously, with all the restrictions. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't understand why we couldn't. I mean, if everyone's in their cars, there shouldn't be a problem. So I reached out to the city council, and I said, hey, I got this idea. I want to do a drive-in movie night here in my friend's parking lot. And immediately they were like, yeah, that sounds amazing. We're all about it. We think it's great. The residents here definitely need something to do. And if they're in their cars watching a movie, we don't see it being an issue. So she told me, I'm going to run it, by the other board members, and I'll get back with you here in the next couple days, and we'll see what we can do. So she did. She called me back the next day. She said, yeah, we don't see a problem with it. She said, maybe call Fort Pierce PD, run it by them, make sure they're on board with it. So I did. They basically said the same thing. If people are in their cars, with the exception of, getting out, using the bathroom, buying food at the concession, obviously people are going to do that. Other than that, they're in their cars, they're social distance. Yeah, let's do it. So of course, also at the time, since I didn't really have much to do, I again, because I'm a big believer in education, I started doing some research on digital marketing. So I actually paid for a couple of online courses on social media advertising. So I started learning how to properly advertise an event on social media, Facebook, stuff like that. I'm no expert. I'm certainly no guru on it, but I did learn a little, a little bit on it, just because I knew that, I'm going to have to advertise this. I can't just, say, hey, we're open and expect everyone to show up. So once we got everything approved, I started a business at that point. I told Connie, I said, hey, we really should rebrand this. Instead of Tipsy Tiki, we should rebrand this as our own business. And she's like, no, I agree. So now, of course, I don't know if some people are aware of this or not, but you can't just show a movie. You have to pay for the rights to show that movie. So
I was wondering about
yeah,
that.
so you have to go through a film broker, and you have to basically pay Hollywood their rights. Even though it's an older movie, you still have to pay them money to show that movie. So our film broker, because we wanted to call it the drive-in, they said, well, unfortunately, since you're not a first-run theater and you're not showing, first-run movies like, any other drive-in would show, you're not really allowed to call it a drive-in, but we do have a couple suggestions. So one of the suggestions was Park and Watch. So it kind of, I thought it was pretty clicky. Connie thought it was a pretty, unique name. So we went with it. We're like, hey, let's just, we were thinking Fort Pierce Park and Watch. We were like, no, we should, maybe call it Treasure Coast Park and Watch, because, we want everybody in the area to come. We want to, really, make it, seem like it's for the entire area. So, so we ended up calling it Treasure Coast Park and Watch, and we treated it like any other business. We made a website. We had a logo made. We put it on Facebook, had a Facebook page, all that good stuff. And then I started to implement that, that new education, with marketing the event on Facebook, made an event, ran some ads. And let me tell you, it blew up.
Yeah, I remember. It was like the only thing to do.
It went viral. It went viral because at the time, like you said, there were no other events.
Nothing.
So the Facebook algorithms were like, oh, there's an event. So, yeah. So my my cost per click was like pennies compared to, what I'm paying now.
Yeah.
I was getting so much exposure for my money. It was insane, so the ads that are, between the ads that I was running, between the stuff that Connie was doing with, posting in groups, it went viral. It was crazy. We had probably 3,000 or 4,000 people saying they were coming to our grand opening.
Wow.
Which was a problem. I mean, it was a good problem, of course, but, we were about a week away, and that's when I looked at Connie. I'm like, even if we had a fraction of these people show up, this is a lot of cars, and your parking lot's pretty small. Like, we'd be blessed if we could fit 40, maybe 50 cars in your lot. So I'm like, she's like, yeah, we got to expand. We can't do it here. It's going to be a nightmare. We don't have a traffic control system. We don't have a fence. Like, so, logistically, it is going to be a big issue. So we, at that point, were like, yeah, we need to go somewhere else. So fortunately, right across the bridge, is Causeway Cove Marina. So immediately she called them, and they were like, oh, wait a minute. That's you, the parking watch with all those people. Like, they're like, come on over, let's talk. So we talked with Causeway Cove, and they were like, this is now your new home.
Oh, Buzzy, right?
Buzzy, good old Buzzy.
Love Buzzy.
I love Buzzy. Buzzy, and if you're listening to this right now, Buzzy, thank you so much. Buzzy is a great guy and really gave us a huge opportunity. True supporter of entrepreneurs.
Big time.
And still to this day just really has our back. And it was just such an incredible experience with our grand opening. It was just crazy. I mean, because I've done events here before, and it's like, oh, cool, we got some people to show up, cool, but this was a game changer. This was like, oh my, I don't think we can fit any more cars in here.
So
like,
awesome, and that's a huge property.
There's a traffic jam over the bridge right now.
Yeah.
Like,
what was the first movie you guys played?
So the first movie was The Goonies.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Yep, it was
cult classic.
Oh yeah, classic. No pun intended. Yep, and we actually voted on it too, because we were debating like, what movie should we show? And of course I was like, we got to show The Goonies. It's a no-brainer. Connie was like, no, I'm thinking like maybe like a little bit of an older movie, and then
Was she thinking Grease?
I think she was thinking Grease, which is
I don't know why. It's a great movie. I don't know why, because I know her.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I could see that being her first guess.
And we did show Grease.
Yeah,
I think we showed it
okay.
the third week, and it did very well.
Yeah.
But so she was like, yeah, agree. I want to say it was Grease. And then our other guy that was with us, he was like, no, we need to show
8 Mile.
I forgot, honestly, but we had our team was there. They were throwing suggestions. So I said, wait a minute, guys. Why don't we just let our customers choose which movie? So that's when I got the idea of, let's just take all the movie covers, we'll put them on Facebook, and we'll say, hey, like or love your favorite movie cover to vote. And then I also turned that into an ad, and next thing you know, that thing blew up like a drunk monkey in a room full of dynamite with a blowtorch. And it was just crazy. I mean, people were liking, loving, commenting. Of course, The Goonies won.
There you go.
And yeah, so the Goonies was our first movie, and it got so big to the point where because we did our grand opening on Friday, that we actually had to do another showing on Saturday just to accommodate all of our customers. We just couldn't fit that many people in there. So that's how Treasure Coast Park and Watch started. And then, of course, Buzz was very impressed. He was very happy. And so immediately we sat down after that and discussed moving forward. And then, we got with our team and figured out what we can do to improve. And we just did it again the following week.
Yeah.
And then we did it again the following week, and still to this
going
day,
yes.
we're over 3 years strong.
Wow. And you do it, what is it, once a month, every Saturday? How do you do it?
Yeah, so we originally were open every Friday and every Saturday, and what we originally were doing was on Friday we were doing, we were catering more to our adult crowd. We were doing more, PG-13 rated R movies. Then Saturday's always been our family movie night, so PG movies, cartoons, Disney, stuff like that, on Saturday. And then of course, when things started to open back up. Now, granted, all this time I'm thinking, okay, drive-in, great, cool idea, but it's not going to last forever. I'm thinking this is just a Band-Aid to just get us through COVID. This is just temporary. No one's going to keep paying, to come see a movie that they can just sit at home and watch, with their family. But boy, was I wrong. I was so wrong, because people still to this day are coming out. But, when things did start to reopen, yes, we did notice a decline in attendance, but it wasn't that much of a decline. Like, people were still coming. At some point, our Friday did slow down quite a bit, to where we were like, you know what, we need to cut back on Friday. So instead of every week, we went to one Friday a month. And then with our Saturday, we started going bi-weekly with our Saturday. Now, of course, Causeway Cove started hosting events again and concerts. So whenever they have something that goes, into the evening, if they have especially like a concert or something like that, we won't do a movie just because, and we tried it. We can't have a band playing when a movie's playing.
I remember we ran into sometimes, because I do events there as well. I know we ran into a couple times to where, hey, are you going to do the movie? I'm going to do the show. So you always figure it out.
Oh yeah, because we certainly want our guests to have, a very good experience. We and vice versa. We don't want to go to the event promoter and be like, hey, turn it down and try to ruin their guest experience either. So, we just figure, if it's an event that's going to go past, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, we just figure, nope, we're just going to tell everyone that we won't have an event due to an event at Causeway Cove. We'll just postpone it till next week. But regardless of that, we try to keep it bi-weekly on Saturday. Except right now, we are open every Saturday, and we are actually open every Friday because it is Halloween season.
Oh, nice.
And it is that time of the year where we do our scary movies every Friday. And then on Saturday, we're open every Saturday because we're doing a Halloween edition of our family movie night. So I believe we're showing Ghostbusters this Saturday.
I love it.
So yeah, so we do a movie like that. I know we have like Hocus Pocus on the schedule coming up in October. I think we have A Nightmare Before Christmas, I want to say, and Beetlejuice. Don't get me wrong. I think we have Beetlejuice as well planned.
You play all the good ones.
Yeah,
man.
so
That's
we
good.
always play all the good ones, that are family friendly on Saturday. Then of course for our Friday, we're actually doing double features this year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we're giving them, we're giving them 2 movies.
So one price, 2 movies.
One price, 2 movies.
Nice,
Yep.
very cool, man. So spend
Yep.
your whole night there.
Oh yeah. We decided this year we want to make the experience that much better because we do give we do get a lot of feedback on social media. We ask questions like, hey, what's your favorite horror movie? Do you like classic horror movies? Do you like newer horror movies? So we get a good mix. Some people really dig the classic, but some people, dig the newer ones. So we figured, you know what? Let's give them both. So what we've been doing on Friday is, so for instance, this Friday, we're going to start with a classic. We're going to do Carrie.
Ooh.
Yep, we're going to do the
Imagine
classic
that on
Carrie.
a big screen.
And then we're going to do Saw, the original Saw 1 from 2004.
Wow, dude, that's fun.
Because I know Saw X comes out this week, and I know our Saw fans are going to be out and about. So we figured, you know what? Let's give our Saw fans the first Saw movie. So that's what we're doing for this Friday. Then I'm sure by the time this podcast goes out, though, this will be This will already be done and over with. So sorry guys, but this is what we're doing on Friday, every Friday up until Halloween. And I know once we move into October, it's gonna get even better. I know we have. Let me think what we have planned. I know Friday the 13th. Of course, we got a show Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And I believe we're going to also show Freddy versus Jason after that to really spice it up a little bit.
Super cool, man.
And then the original Halloween, we usually play that on Halloween or close to Halloween. So we're really trying to take care of our horror movie fans this year as much as we can. So that's pretty much how we do it every year.
Love it, man.
And then, of course, after that, we start focusing on Christmas. We'll start, come, late November, we'll start showing our, family-friendly Christmas movies. And then we'll go back to once a month. Or actually, we might actually start doing twice a month now for our, date night or adult, movie night on Friday. I think we're going to try that.
Man.
Yeah.
So, man, it's so cool to watch, man. Just from you growing up around here, selling lemonade on the corner.
From lemonade to popcorn.
Yeah. and just being you're such a big part of so many things that happen in this community now. Do you ever look at it like that? Your stage has had all the big events at Tradition.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of the proms, a lot of the graduations. I mean, you're really involved. I mean, with so much in the community, man. It's so cool. Did you ever think, I'm sure you had an idea you were gonna do some big stuff, but did you ever think like this when you were young? I know you knew you were gonna be an entrepreneur. Did you have visions?
I did. When I was young, I mean, I've always envisioned being in this, I would say, in this business, but involved somehow, with again, with entertainment technology. Like like I said, I love the lighting aspect of it, the all the equipment and the crew and what it basically takes to produce an event. So I've always been, obsessed with that, even as a kid. Then, of course, as I matured, during my teenage years, that's when I started to have little goals, maybe one day I could own my own business. I could own my own, lighting company and be able to own, stages and lights and audio. And then, I was thinking even 5 or 6 years ago, I was dreaming about being where I am today.
That's awesome,
and now I'm thinking hopefully, 6, 7, 8 years from now, I'll be, on that next level that I want to be.
That was going to be my next question. Where do you see yourself in the next 5, 6, 7 years?
I see myself expanding. I want to venture into other cities where there's more opportunity. I want to grow. I want to hire more people, essentially. I want to, make bigger investments, buy, larger, stages. I want to buy more industry standard equipment. I want to get more contracts with, hotels and convention centers, and I just want to grow. I just want to grow and expand and continue to live the dream and follow my passion.
That's so great, man. That's so cool to see. Like I say, man, this is what this is all about. So, would you leave any parting words? The kind of people that are watching this are people that, that maybe are thinking about getting into business or have been in business, looking to take it to the next level. What are your parting words to anybody listening right now?
So, if anything, I'd have to say to anyone starting out, always follow your passion. Never do it for the money. Never look at somebody that's successful, that has a lot of money, and be like, well, man, he's got money. I want to make a lot of money. I'm going to do it for the money. Do what you love. That's the first thing. You got to love it. You gotta love it. Because if you don't love it, the motivation's not going to be there. Because I'm not going to lie, even if you love it, you're going to have really tough days. Like I tell people all the time, some days you're the dog and some days you're the hydrant. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to have really bad days. Even though you love your job, you're going to work 20-hour days, sometimes longer. Sometimes you're going to just work until you're completely drained, looking like a zombie. Things are going to go wrong. Employees are going to show up late. You're going to have days from hell, and it's going to suck. It's going to make you want to quit. You're going to have losses. But again, it's all part of, that temporary failure is part of success. You got to be able to learn from that. You got to be able to basically fall down, get cut up, get bruised up,
peed on.
Yep. and then you got to be able to just ease the pain, get back up, brush it off, and keep going. And never, ever, ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Because that's another thing too, is a lot of people will be like, oh, well, nah, you're not cut out for business, or, oh no, that's too risky, or, oh no, that's not for you. You should get a real job. You should go to college.
Yeah.
You should do this. You should do that. Blah 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 blah. No, you do follow your dream. Never let anyone deter you from that. And another thing too is always have an open mind. Constantly educate yourself. Read books. Again, college. If college is your thing, go to college. If that's what you want to do, if that's your, passion for education, go to college. If books is your passion for education, read books. Podcasts.
Yeah.
Hey, listen to podcasts.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
This is mainly what I learned from
Mhm.
YouTube videos, podcasts, other people. So that's why I'm doing this.
Exactly. Yeah. Never, ever, ever think that you know everything.
Mhm.
Always be willing to learn. And then at some point, be willing to share that with other people. Be willing to share your advice and your success, and try to help others as much as you can.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, I really, really do appreciate you being here. I learned so much about you that I
thank
didn't
you.
know.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, man. I mean, you came right to mind, man. Man, I look up to what you've done. I remember when I first started getting into entertainment, that stuff, and you were one of the guys that I would run to and ask the questions, and always there to help, always there to give, man. So I really do appreciate you being here today. Hey, guys, thank you for listening. Kyle Kneifel, DJ Classic, Treasure Coast Park and Watch, Avid Entertainment, Avid Productions. Yeah, man, you guys, we'll see you soon, man. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys.